In this video, I'm going to be talking about 10 movies that are G-rated and not animated because I feel like it's so much easier to find most of it or the majority of it to be a lot of G-rated movies are animated, which are also family friendly, but I wonder, are there some that are G-rated but are instead live action? And you know what? I think I found some, but trust me, they were not that easy to find. And I know I already introduced some or several G-rated movies in the past or before, but they are all animated. But now I want to give a shout out and to give attention to something a little bit different. Here's some of them. On YouTube and welcome back to my channel. And like I said before, again, G-rated movies with non-animation, which are very good choices that I have selected, and not only that, they are fun to watch. And I will also say a lot of the non-animated G-rated movies are sometimes mostly musical, so there might be some on my list, but it was pretty difficult searching for movies that are not animated musicals. But hey, what can you do? I use mostly Google or IMDb to help me with this video, so there was very little to choose from, but you know, I try my best. So without further ado, let's see how I did. Alright, starting off strong, the number one on my list is the movie called Dennis the Menace Strikes Again. The year of it is 1998, directed by Charles T. Kanganis. And so the story of this movie is about Dennis, who is a young boy who is very mischievous and creates a lot of trouble sometimes. But his heart is in the right place. He tries to help, but makes things a lot worse. As Dennis' neighbor, Mr. Wilson, who is sometimes seen as a grumpy elderly neighbor, but this older gentleman has a very strong special relationship with Dennis. But because of their differences of their age, their thoughts on how they show their kindness is quite different. For example, Dennis giving a toad as a surprise gift to Mr. Wilson is not all that interested in it. But it's the thought that counts, right? But also now we have a couple of new people in town. These pairs, these duels of swindlers target Mr. Wilson with bogus youth remedies and try to take as much money from Mr. Wilson as possible. So now it's up to Dennis to try and save Mr. Wilson and to put a stop to these swindlers. But it's not going to be that easy because these two, I would say, are pretty talented, sneaky, and creative. So you'll just have to see how everything goes with Dennis and his strategies. Now, the reason why I like this movie is because it's very nostalgic for me. And also, it's a slapstick comedy. It also has similar vibes with the movie Home Alone. Each of the characters in the movie are funny in their own way, and you get to see a lot of hilarious scenes. And so it's a very fun movie to watch, and it also gives off certainly about the beauty of friendship with Dennis and Mr. Wilson. Even though some of their interests might not align with them at all, but the bond that they share is still strong, and I think this is a wonderful message for the audience to experience, and the movie is also very fun to watch. Now, the second movie that I have for you guys is called The Princess Diary, year 2001. The movie is directed by Gary Marshall. Now, I know a lot of people might be surprised of me watching this, but I have to say, this was a fun movie to watch. Also, there's a very popular scene in the movie that you might recognize that gets referenced a lot, but I think this movie has a nice charm to it as well. And so, the story of this movie is about Mia, who is at first in the beginning just your normal, regular girl that goes to school. However, all of that changes when a visit from her grandma, Mia finds out that she is the next heir to the throne of Genovia. And now with this new information in mind, Mia has to navigate this big change in her life. It's going to be a totally new experience for her, and she will have to undergo some major royalty transformation. And it's going to be a challenge and a struggle for her. Going from a normal life to a princess is not going to be an easy task. But with her trusty friend by her side, and with the help of those around her, Mia attempts to try to overcome these struggles and to go through all of this with new experiences. This movie also has some fun comedy, teen romance, and some wholesome, uplifting scenes. I would say this is my first introduction to the actress Anne Hathaway. She does a really good job in acting and portraying a young girl who doesn't understand things at first of what she is doing, but through the lessons, she begins to slowly adapt and begin to become very comfortable in what she needs to do and what needs to be done, but also doing things in her own style, while also being still true to herself and being authentic with what she does and how she behaves, which is very interesting to see. The third G-rated movie that is also not animated is called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, year 1971, directed by Mel Stewart, which is, I believe, the very first movie of this Chocolate Factory series. This movie also has great nostalgia for me, as this story of this movie is very unique and very original, at least that's what I think. This movie is a musical, so you'll see some singing involved. There should be two songs that stand out, one of them being the Oompa Loompa song and Pure Imagination. And on this movie list, there are a couple of more musicals that I will will share on my list, and this is one of them. And so the story of this movie is about a poor young boy named Charlie who is very hopeful to seek one of the 5 golden tickets that the factory owner Willy Wonka sends out to children all over. And if you do get this ticket, you are now able to go inside in this mysterious chocolate factory. And what makes this interesting is because the movie incorporates a fantasy element to it. So there is a lot of weird, unique things being presented there, as this is definitely no ordinary factory. And there is so much bizarre things happening that it creates a nice, crazy adventure story. So if you haven't seen this movie at all, well, first that would be amazing because I would assume a great majority of people already have, because you also have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Wonka, the 2 movies that are kind of similar or related to this movie. But if you haven't, you will definitely experience an odd, similar adventure. And it's definitely something new, unique, and different for sure. A lot of things that happen in this movie can't really be explained through logic. It's just a movie for your experience and your entertainment. The 4th rated G movie that I have for you guys is another musical, and it's called Chitty Bang Bang, with the year 1968, directed by Ken Hugh. I'll have to say this movie is quite quirky, and this movie takes you into a weird fantasy adventure, which I believe a lot of the old films do have that out of the box ideas or inspiration, but it's very unique and intriguing. And so for the story of this movie is about a down on his luck inventor who turns a broken down car into a very fancy vehicle for his 2 children. And so this now new vehicle gets an upgrade with very unique features. Having interesting new gadgets on it, they now go off in a fantasy adventure to save their grandfather in a far-off land. And now they come into contact with a nation run by a bad king who enforces the law of banning children in Bulgaria. This bad king also hires a child catcher to capture the children, which is very creepy. And he tricks the children by showing off candy as bait, luring them into his trap. By the way, he was very horrifying to see, not gonna lie. But besides that, the movie's music and singing are pretty good. Very exciting and fun songs are being sung on this movie with a lot of energy, and the movie also has a whimsical storyline. It has catchy songs and memorable characters. It's a fun movie to watch. It has beautiful cinematography, costumes, and production designs. And if you want to have a good time experiencing something unique, try out this movie. The 5th G-rated non-animated movie I have for you guys is called Babe, year 1995, directed by Chris Nunez. This movie has talking animals, so it's really interesting. This is something completely different compared to animated movies, where the animated animals are being presented instead of real ones. And so the story of this movie is about a farmer who wins a piglet named Babe at a county fair and brings him to his farm. The little pig escapes his fate of being dinner, and instead of being trained as a pig that can herd sheep. What? Because the little piglet has been raised by sheepdogs who help shepherd or herd to gather all of the sheep. So the little piglet has discovered a new job. And I would like to say this story is very different, and it's an animal adventure along with family style themes and just a slight dash of comedy. The duck is pretty much a comedian at this point. It's a very heartwarming story, impressive special effects, and it has a very positive message about acceptance and perseverance. And I feel like this story is about proving yourself, your worth, and sort of tear down normal expectations. Because normally you wouldn't see a pig herding sheep. That is mostly for sheepdogs, because naturally they're trained that way. But with the power of empathy, the little piglet shows a different way of handling things, a new different direction, and a new point of view. Care to find out? The 6th movie that is non-animated and is G-rated is called Oliver, year 1968, directed by Carl Reed. This one is a classic musical. One of the most memorable scenes is where the orphan asks, "Please sir, may I have some more?" Huh? What? And so the story of this movie is about a young orphan boy named Oliver who stays in an orphanage, but then later on runs away to the streets where he can be free and get out of his situation. And in the streets in his journey, he meets a group of boys trained to steal or pickpocketing. Now, why is that, you might ask? Well, the location of this movie is the setting of England, which the era of this movie is from London in the 1830s. And it was a time where there was a lot of poverty. And so Oliver has to find ways to survive and make a living for himself as a young boy who will face challenges and many hardships in these types of economic conditions. And along the way in this movie, we get to see the little boy's journey throughout. This movie has strong musical numbers, compelling characters, and effective adaptation to the story of the source material. And overall, you do learn a lesson of the conditions during that time period. Some of the lessons of consequences for your action. The story also includes the search for family and the strengthening lesson of the power of kindness, along with societal changes, survival, and human perseverance. And how exactly does he do it? Well, you just have to watch and find out. The 7th movie that is non-animated and G-rated, according to IMDb, is called They Call Me Trinity. Year 1970, directed by Enzo Barboni. This movie, I remember my dad showing me this, and this was a really fun movie to watch. It got that slapstick-like comedy that I love, and this story takes place in a Western era. Like, you got the cowboys and bandits. I really enjoy just how clever the scenes are in this movie, and the creation of this is like action/comedy, and it's just a well-produced movie just to have a good time. There is not too much of a story, but more of just entertainment. I mean, you have this main character. It says a lazy, unorthodox gunfighter who is very skilled, by the way, and his portly horse-thieving brother defend a Mormon settlement from a land-grabbing major, a Mexican bandit, and their henchmen, and they have to figure out a way to defeat them. Also in the movie, there is a popular scene of Terrence Hill eating just beans and bread. It's like a nice mukbang that kind of might make you hungry for sure. To describe one of the characters, he is sort of talented in his own unique way, and he's a ladies' man, and he has a brother who is mostly grumpy a lot of the times, most of the times maybe because of him, but also he just cares about money. This movie is also called a spaghetti western, which I did not know what that meant, but it's said to be a cheaply made about the Old West and produced, also directed by an Italian, which that is what Google is saying. It's like a subgenre. But also in this movie, there is so many hilarious scenes, engaging blend of action, humor, and a goofy nature behind it. Also, this has a nice cinematography and charming, memorable characters, a buddy chemistry between the brothers, and it's a great film. You'll definitely won't get bored while watching this movie. It's gonna be great. So why not just check it out? The 8th movie that is non-animated and G-rated is the movie called Mr. Bean's Holiday. Year is 2007, directed by Steve Benelak. Now, at first when I finished watching the movie, I was wondering what was the holiday part of this in this movie, because it feels sort of like more of a vacation. Then I also wondered, is holiday and a vacation the same thing or usually similar, but in a British English type, since this word holiday usually means a trip or time off for leisure. So it might have a different sense of meaning to the word. In this case, Mr. Bean wins a holiday trip to France. So this is more so the film of the main character doing a comedic adventure while traveling. It was a little confusing because in the movie, I did not see any holiday happening in the American sense where there's some type of celebration. It would kind of make more sense if they named the movie Mr. Bean's Vacation or Mr. Bean's Trip, but this movie is produced as a British film, so it's more so part of that system. And so the story in this movie, we follow Mr. Bean in his trip to France. We get to see him exploring many things in France, getting into funny situations along with getting lost, but also meeting new people. And the humor in this movie is mostly visual so that everyone can enjoy it. It's a very heartwarming and funny adventure movie, that's for sure. Also, it's a lighthearted movie. This is very much a slapstick comedy, which you already know. It is one of my favorite genres of comedy, of entertainment, and it shows Mr. Bean getting into embarrassing and ridiculous situations. There is a lot of visual gags, like him accidentally causing chaos or narrowly avoiding disasters. The humor is mostly non-verbal, which is a good strategy for making it easier for audience of all ages and all different types of languages to enjoy. The actor Rowan Atkinson, physical humor is timeless. But also in the movie, there is so many beautiful locations to see. The movie is set in charming French town and the scenic countryside. And also beyond the laugh, this movie is about kindness, friendship, and the many small joys of life. It's definitely a very cheerful movie, perfect for a stress-free viewing experience. One scene I kind of agree on the movie was the oyster scene.
Nope.
The oysters did not look that appetizing. I've tried raw oysters before, but I did not like it at all. But maybe I will try and like cooked oysters, who knows? But the raw version of it is just too slimy, gloopy, and snot looking like. Well, at least for me, in my personal opinion. But hey, some people like it, some people don't. But anyways, if you're looking for a fun G-rated comedy movie that will make you laugh and leave you feeling good, this is a trip you might find interesting.
Emotional damage.
Now, the 9th movie that I have for you guys that is G-rated and non-animated is called Old Yeller, year 1957, directed by Robert Stevenson. This movie is beyond nostalgic for me. Also, this is the most oldest movie on this list, and I really enjoyed watching it. I think of this movie as an American classic film, in my personal opinion, of course, and in this movie, it really showcases the phrase, man's best friend, really well. This is a very special film. You would get emotional and teary, perhaps, because the story is so good, and towards the end, there will be an unfortunate event that occurs in the movie. I don't want to give out too many spoilers, but the scene really hits hard, and that really goes to show just how good this film is, and also how it was made. And so the story of this movie is about a teenage boy who grows to love a stray yellow dog while also helping run their family Texas household, while also father is away on cattle drive. In the beginning of the story, the family sees the dog as a good-for-nothing mutt in the beginning with their thoughts when dealing with the dog, but later on, Old Yeller becomes soon beloved by all. So we have strong character development along with great heartwarming scenes. This movie is emotionally resonant, coming-of-age story. Its portrayal of strong bond between humans and animals, and its ability to invoke powerful emotions about loss and responsibility. The setting of the story is very well done, and it also has a realistic portrayal of farm life. And so there is very much a strong acting and memorable characters, leaving the audience with a lasting impact. This is definitely a movie film worth watching. Who knows, maybe you might develop a strong bond with the characters and appreciate the film's superb performances. The last and final non-animated and G-rated movie, the 10th movie of this list, is called Herbie Fully Loaded, year 2005, directed by Angela Robinson. This movie is just a great time to watch, as it has some slapstick comedy, my favorite, and some fantasy comedy, and it deals with motorsports. And so the story of this movie is about Maggie Payton, who is a young girl, and she becomes the new owner of Herbie, number 53. The car is a freewheeling Volkswagen Bug, but the interesting part of it is that it has a mind of its own. This part reminded me of Transformers a little bit, even though it might not be entirely the same, but it sort of is, maybe not, I don't know. And so later on, Maggie puts her car through its paces on the road to become a NASCAR competitor. Now, this Volkswagen Bug car may not look much, but because it has a mind of its own, it has some kind of special ability. And this movie is very funny. This is good for family entertainment, and it has a nice feel to it. Nothing too serious, just a random crazy underdog story with a nice positive message about teamwork, perseverance, and believing in oneself. Also has engaging characters and exciting racing sequence. So that is my list for 10 G-rated movies that are also non-animated. What did you think of them? Did you agree with my selections? You can let me know. And as a bonus, I just also want to include one more movie, because as I was searching through the list of movies that are G-rated and not animated, I was thinking of a certain movie that I've watched long time ago, and I couldn't remember what that movie was called for the longest time, because it was really an old movie, more older than Old Yeller. I tried many times to find this movie, but in the end I was able to find this movie, but the process was super difficult. I was able to find it because of the pieces of my memory as clues I had left in my brain. I even asked my dad about it to see if he remembered what I was talking about, which movie that I was thinking of, but he couldn't remember it as well. So I kind of started to scour the internet. I sort of got some hints here and there, where some of them I did remember from the movie when I was watching it in the past. Some of the clues include, I remember this movie was a musical because it had some singing involved. I remember there was a giant squid scene where a gorilla attacking them scene, and I remember it was two men who are the main characters of the movie, and they were later on acquainted with a princess, and they all go to this adventure journey, and those were very memorable to me when I was watching the movie. So as I was able to remember all that, I needed to find ways to recall what specifically happened in the movie as much as possible, as detailed as possible. And in the end of all of this, I was able to finally find this movie. And thank goodness for this, because I was really getting frustrated. At that point, I almost wanted to give up, but I'm glad I didn't. And so I'm going to be putting this movie on this video so I could look back on this video and never be able to forget about it again. And so the name of this movie is called Road to Bali, year 1952, directed by Hal Walker. This is a comedy, musical, adventure type of movie, and it contains full of memorable scenes and characters as well. And so the story of this movie is about two unemployed showbiz pals who later on accepts a treasure diving work in Bali for a local princess. And they soon find treasure, love, and trouble. So they have to find ways to survive and escape escape. I had a really great time watching this film, even though this is a super old movie. And in IMDb, this movie is said to be approved and not rated, but I would assume this movie would be in the range of G-rated movies. So I think that should be it for this list. Nice to have gone through some nostalgic memory lane for this video. Hopefully you guys were able to discover something new to watch, and I hope you guys enjoyed some of my selections. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time.